Hey YouTubers, 2011 Kia Sorento, and we need to replace the lower control arms. Actually the ball joint is quite bad, and also the rubber on both sides of the control arm, it started to separate. As you can see, it's all cracked, so we are replacing entire control arm. So to do the job, have your car lifted on the jack stands. Next, we will remove this nut on the ball joint itself. There is a cotter pin. We will get the cotter pin out. It's 17 mil. So we take the nut off. We have this little helper here. Take the nut off and then go from the other side and just spin the bolt so it gets loose, and punch the bolt out. Spray everything with WD-40 while you work on it, so it's easier to remove. So we have sprayed this part, that part, and on the other side. So I'll get this out and we'll continue. Okay, so that bolt is out. Give it another spray with WD-40. This is the most rusted bolt you would see, I hope. So next, what we will do, we'll use 19 mil and get this nut and bolt removed. Again, just using an impact to get that out. Okay, so here is that bolt. It's not bad at all. So next we will remove the third and the last bolt just over here. So we will use a swivel and an impact on this side. If we might need to lose the nut with the wrench on the other side. There's not much room. There is sway bar on the way. If you don't have an impact, you might need to remove the sway bar links to get that sway bar out if you may. But I did the other side and impact did the job, so I won't worry about that at this point. We'll see how it goes. Just want to quickly show you how the swivel, short extension, and the impact sets. So I'll start hammering and hopefully get that bolt loose. Okay, so this bolt came out. So now it's loose everywhere. Next, what we will do, we'll grab a floor jack and put it under the rotor and lift it a bit to take any extra tension out of the lower control arm from the spring. Alright, so just a few pumps, don't go too aggressive since the axle and the strut is the only thing that holds this thing in place. So just take the tension off. So you can see it kind of got moved over here. So next what we will do, we will use that fork to get the ball joint removed. If you don't have a fork, you might be lucky just to hammer this down. It might be a bit easier since usually the upper part of the ball joint get rusted, but yeah, I will just use this to get that out. Okay, so when you get your ball joint down a bit, you might need to use double fork. Basically, that's how I used it to get that out all the way, and then just hammer them both together. Okay, so the ball joint is out. When it got disconnected, this part drops too from the jack, so be careful. So now we should be able just to use the pry bar to get that pried out and put the new one. So before we put the new control arm in, we'll use a wire brush on a drill and clean this receiver well from the inside. Another thing that I strongly recommend to do, get the old bolts cleaned with the wire brush and put anti-seize on them. Okay, so now we will stick in the new control arm. So you have your bolts ready. At this point, you want to get your ball joint in. Don't see much. So the bolt joint is all the way in, so now we just slide the bolt through so it does not drop. So now it's secured. So next what we will do, as you can see, this is quite off, so we will put the jack under the control arm and we'll lift until this hole lines up and we can put the bolt through. Okay, so I'm still lifting by the rotor because when I had the block under the arm, it was pushing that side up too, way too much. So this way I got this line up, got the bolt through, so now we'll just put a nut to make sure that the bolt doesn't fall out when we doing the other side. Okay, so now we will let the jack go and we will put the jack under the control arm at this point. Also, we want to get that side pushed in. So as you can see, it gets a little bit off, so maybe while the jack is not attached, we will use some hammering to get that side in. So as you can see, it went in, so now we'll just use the jack and we'll jack up the control arm. Now it wants to come out. Okay, so at this point we want to get it in as much as we can. And then it would be nice to get at least one side of the bolt in. So at this point I will use the same technique as on the other side with the strap to pull the control arm in place. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I use a strap attached to the frame on one side and to the control arm on the other side. And now when I ratchet it, I can push the control arm in place. So it worked well on the other side, and it should work well on this. So now we will jack it up. And you can see it's already going way too high. So now just a play with the strap and the jack to get that bushing line up. So as you can see, I got the bolt on one side, but the other side is way too much out. So when I use a strap, it pushes it in place. Okay, so I got that bolt all the way in, now it started. There's lots of pressure on this strap. So this is how I did it. It worked well on both sides, and you will see how much pressure is there when I let it go. So this is the handy tool to have. So now what we will do, before we got the bolts tight, we will lift we will actually put it under the bolt joint, and we will lift the vehicle off the jack stand. So why we do this? First of all, we want to get that arm pushed all the way in on a bolt joint. Another thing, when you get that bushing tight, you want it to be in a position how the vehicle would usually sit when it's on the ground. Similar with that one, that is not that critical. If you torque it like this, it will put initial stress on that rubber bushing, and you don't want that. So we will lift, we will see that the spring gets compressed, it's going up. So we will know for sure that the ball joint is all the way in, and we will just watch so you can see it got off the jack stand. We will leave the jack stand over there while we work on the vehicle, but this is basically where you want to torque everything. The other option would be to get the vehicle on ramps, so the weight of the vehicle is on the spring. So now we'll just torque everything. Those big ones will torque to 100 foot-pounds. I don't have exact specs for this car, but based on the bolt size, we will do 100 on that one, 100 on this one, and 50 on a bolt joint itself. So to torque that one, you can use just a shallow socket and the torque wrench. Just go on this side, so it's not difficult to give that 100 foot-pound torque. So I'm gonna use this one. And this actually will do 60, not 50 foot-pounds. So now we can lower the vehicle, and last thing to do is to install the cotter pin. Whether if you have new one, fantastic. I would not recommend putting the old one in because they are quite rusted and probably will break and seize next time. So install your cotter pin, put your wheels back on, and you're good to go. Thanks for watching. Do it yourself.